Tēnā koutou katoa, and today's headlines: New Zealand's crime rate has dropped by 5.2%, with the largest regional decrease attributed to the Canterbury district, where recorded crime fell 11.7%. However, the spike in Auckland crime is causing politicians some concern. The district recorded a 5.4% increase, and Labour MP Chris Fa'afoe says that can't be ignored, even if the national crime rate has fallen.
Especially given that a fair bit of resource has been pumped into that area to crack down on crime, but things seem to be going in a direction most people in central Auckland won't be happy with.
High-level financial talks are beckoning for our finance minister this week. Bill English is travelling to Japan and Europe for a round of meetings with government representatives and business leaders. He'll attend an annual summit of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank in Tokyo. Our health system relies heavily on them, but international nurses are facing prejudice on a daily basis. The New Zealand Nurses Organisation says research shows immigrant nurses are discriminated against by patients and the wider community. Jill Clendon said some of that stems from a language barrier.
Most of these nurses are very experienced, very well qualified. The issue does seem to lie around communication and language to some extent. It tends to be older patients, and when somebody is speaking with an accent, mostly the technical and medical terms. And I hate to say it, but there does appear to be some racism.
A whangarei teacher who was dismissed for supporting a student protest against the school's principal wants his job back. Nigel Studdard said he'd try mediation and perhaps legal action to get reinstated at Pompalia Catholic College. He admitted that working with the principal would be difficult, as they have different views on same-sex marriage. Our consumer watchdog says we are paying too much for our credit cards. Consumer New Zealand's Sue Chetwin has pointed out that although the OCR has dropped significantly, banks are not charging their credit card customers accordingly.
I accept that it should be higher than some other interest rates, but where it's up now, which is in the higher teens, is exorbitant. It's not as unsecure as what they say it is. But look, just to be careful that people should ensure that they pay their credit cards off every month so that they don't actually have to pay any interest rate at all.
The Maori Party wants to know why the Prime Minister will say sorry to Kim Dotcom, but not to Tuhoi. MP Te Ururoa Flavel suggests there's a double standard in John Key apologising for the GCSB's unlawful spying in relation to Dotcom's extradition case, but not for Tuhoi's treatment during the Urewera raids on paramilitary training allegations. Our foreign minister says many countries share our government's views on UN inaction over Syria. Speaking at the General Assembly yesterday, Mari Macaulay called for the Permanent Security Council members to voluntarily restrict their veto powers. His speech was well received, but he questioned if it would have any tangible effect.
There's still a strong sense that the permanent 5 members are not sitting down and trying to find a way through this. The real problem is extremist positions being taken on reform issues, and we're trying to suggest a moderate course that at least has some prospect of agreement from both sides.
New Zealand is applying for a 2-year term on the Security Council. Public frustration is once again palpable in Europe. Spain is grappling with high unemployment, and tens of thousands of disgruntled citizens have called for the dissolution of Mariano Rajoy's government. Over 60 people were injured on Saturday as crowds in Madrid voiced their anger against the latest round of austerity cuts, including a freeze on state sector salaries. And in France, thousands of left-wing protesters took to the streets of Paris to denounce the European Union Fiscal Pact, which forces governments to adhere to tough deficit limits. Organisers say the rally targets EU-imposed austerity and is not a criticism of Socialist President François Hollande's government, which has recently introduced a tax targeting the wealthy. The head of UNESCO says that a fire that severely damaged Syria's ancient markets in Aleppo is a huge blow. The market, or souk, is listed as a World Heritage Site, and hundreds of its shops were razed as rebels fought government troops for control of the city. To Iraq, militants have struck 8 different cities and towns with 14 bombings and 2 shootings, killing at least 20 people and wounding 76. The latest attacks take the country's September casualties past 1,000. And finally, British lawmakers and environmentalists are urging governments to seek a moratorium on offshore drilling in the Arctic due to oil spill and safety risks.
Increasing severity of storms, and as the ice retreats from the coastlines, there's more chance of larger waves leading to coastal erosion and perhaps damaging some of the infrastructure.
Oil giant Shell has paused its prospecting activities but warns that rising energy demands means tapping unconventional resources like our polar ice caps are inevitable. Kanuinga karere matua mai te whare korero o rima, mauri ora.